Hey guys, here we are in my new digs, the new rent-a-room, and we do have access to a sink now, and we'll be using the same stuff Austere August wise. We are back to the Nacet, the Semogue Owners Club Taj handled boar brush. Get that guy back in the water. The only other catch was I'm going to continue to use the City Slicker Splash. I think I should have another Midnight Stag splash around, but I just moved and my room is in just a big amount of disarray. And so it might be a little while before I can find, if I can, that splash. So we'll just have to skip the splash for now. The Timeless Open Comb 68 Gap stainless steel is the razor this month. The Nacet blade, 300 plus another 100, so this will be shaved 455 it looks like. And we'll get the blade out, looking at the, there we go. Got new lighting now, so similar to the past, if I do hold something up to the front that's very bright, then it's going to auto adjust the brightness, and then bring me back to brightness when I back off. So I'm sorry that you might experience that kind of thing. If I move it, you can see we've got Sharpie dot right here and etchings of N up here and a 1 down here. And then you should also be able to see the glint of the bend in the blade. Use number 225, something like that, is when I put that bend on there by accident. Let's go ahead and put it in the razor. And I read a little bit of that MIT blade research article that they did. I'm planning on contacting those guys because, I don't know, they may be curious about my blade. And especially something that jumped out at my article, relative to my use, is that for all these uses except for one, I've kept it on the same side. That side I showed you with the etching, that is always facing toward the handle. And so is that part of the secret of making it go a long time? I don't know. But it would be interesting for them to have a new Nacet blade and look at the wear and the chipping that has happened, because that's one of the things they talk about. Here's the Midnight Stag soap. The chipping is one of the things they talk about, and that's one of the things that can degrade, and maybe it plays the biggest role of all in degrading the condition of a blade, the sharpness of a blade. Because what happens is there's part of the blade that goes through the hair, kind of in the center. If you look microscopically, of course, the hair could be this big and the blade coming through it. The part that passes through the middle of the hair, that part doesn't usually get as much chipping, but the part of the blade that passes on the corners, on the edges right here, what happens is the hair moves. It can move as the blade cuts it off. And as it moves, it bends. As it bends, then it's going to twist. And that twisting, microscopically, according to the images they showed, the little videos, is kind of what does that microscopic chipping. Now, if you do against the grain shaving, I could see how that would be the most twisting type of operation that could be. And so maybe the fact that I don't do against the grain, maybe that's a more powerful secret than I know, and it's only their research that has brought that to light. 5 seconds, I believe, is what I lathered with last time. Why don't we just try 4? I ended up with plenty of water. Shake most of the water out. 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. All right. It's just not very much soap. If there's any loose lather in there, I am kind of gently sweeping that into the bowl. But other than that, that's all I'm doing here. And let's see. I think I'm always used to having the camera to the left. So in that sense, it's not too different here. Sure is nice to have a sink. It's convenient. I did enjoy part of the use of the basin. The fact that I didn't have to worry about turning a faucet on and off to rinse the razor or anything like that. That was neat. So it's quieter for you guys. My grandma's basin that she made, and so that was nice to use. But now I can rinse my fingers if they get too sudsy. Now last time, I'm going to go ahead and put about 15 milliliters of water in just from the start. Let the lather come together. That should not be overshooting it based on what I've been using lately. Did I do? Yeah, it was just 4 seconds. I mean, maybe half a second over 4 seconds, but roughly 4 seconds. I remember, yeah, one time I think I had to do 3 seconds, and I actually did less than that. What I did was I think I counted my circles. I counted my rotation, swirls, that's what I called it. Counted my swirls on the soap because it was easier to do that than to try to stick with such a short duration time of loading. Because like I've been saying, we're adding water to the soap every time we take that slightly wet brush and load from the puck. And so that then starts to work its way into the soap and make it easier to pick up soap next time. Now eventually you'll level off, you know, and you'll get a consistent load time that you pretty much don't change from. And we've got a terrific looking lather here. It might just be perfect. Let's, oh, you know what? One thing I don't want to forget, because this was able to soak for a good maybe 10 minutes, I want to press hard into the bowl just a little bit to get the soap up there, and then normal pressure as I mix. That way, if I did have any kind of loose water up near the root of the knot, it got combined now with some soap, and so it's not going to flush out during my shave and mess up my lather. We definitely have a little bit less lather here than we have in the past, but I have so often this month had way too much lather to deal with. Water on my face again. The blade is in the razor. I do have I showed you the splash. I do have the Midnight Stag cologne. All right. The air conditioning at this location is something I've not experienced before. The previous owner of the house, I was told by the current owner, installed a heating or air conditioning system that was based on the ground temperature instead of the ambient air temperature like most of our systems are. And so if all of a sudden the air temp for the day rises 5-10 degrees, the HVAC here doesn't really come on, or it's not really affected. There we go. Look at that lather. Probably could maybe add a little bit more water, but with this base, that might be exactly, it might be as good as we're going to get here. It potentially could have been a little bit better, creamier of a lather if I'd have worked it for a little bit longer. It does feel like, and it kind of looks like I've been able to mature it a little bit here on my face. And so I'm going to take some dribbles and put them in the brush. Probably enhance this face lather just a bit. You know, I generally like to mature the whole lather in the bowl to where when it gets on my face, it's not really growing and changing too much. But you don't have to. It's your choice. You could get it to any level of hydration or maturity. Obviously, face latherers don't work anything up in the bowl. There are some face latherers who do use a bowl for loading the soap, and so they might get it to 10% mature and then finish it off on their face as they add water to their face, as they work the brush. Other people that might be thinking they're doing a hybrid method, and they are, of face lathering and bowl lathering, they might take theirs to a 50%, 60%, and then that way they only have to tweak it, maybe even 70%. You tweak it just a little bit with water when you get to your face, and then the advantage is you've got this reservoir of lather there. You may not have a bowl full of perfect lather, but it's a lot better than running out of lather. That just was what happens when you have a normal face lathering scenario and you don't have a bowl at all. That third pass is sometimes kind of skimpy because so much is wasted on the first pass. All right. 455th use of the Nacet in the timeless overall, and then this time it's in the timeless open comb. Shaving every day here, so this blade is not having to do more work than it really wants to. It definitely likes the shaving off just one day of growth at this age. I don't expect to get a baby butt smooth shave. I just expect to get a reasonable shave that would pass muster at most jobs. If you're a face model or something like that, or like a lawyer where your attention to detail needs to be impeccable, or military perhaps if you got inspection going on, then yeah, my standard's not quite going to meet that. All right, rinse now. The reason I brought up the air conditioning issue is because I'm already starting to feel warm. The person I'm with doesn't really like to. They didn't really want to keep the AC on all the time, and so they kind of are turning it on during certain peak parts of the day, and like it's off in the middle of the night. And normally that's fine if you're asleep, but I often work late. And so I've got the fans going like crazy. And so my shaves, during certain parts of the day, I might actually get a little, moist is such a weird word, but I might start to glisten just a little bit. We'll do cross grain now. A few shaves ago, in case you missed it, I had another issue, not only the splash having been left at a relative's home while I was traveling, but I left the Nacet blade around at a different location. I got it back now, of course, but I had to use one that I just picked up locally at the Dollar General. I did it in this razor, and it used it twice. First time gave me a little bit of irritation, light irritation, but it did disappear very shortly after the shave. But I was surprised that it was that agreeable. This head has been rough for me in the past. I think this is the third pass now. Making sure we have a good mix. Since I did add a little bit extra water once I saw that first pass on my face and how it came together and solidified into something that did need more water, then that meant also that the lather in the bowl needed water too, so I added a little bit. So I just wanted to get a good mixture. It's a total right now 17, 18 milliliters of water used, something like that. Cross grain again, and I can feel fewer and fewer hairs. With such a great soap like this, a nice piece of beautiful precision equipment like this razor, I really don't mind doing an extra pass or two. With a good feeling brush, I think this is maybe on its 73rd use, something like that, low 70s. It's still young, it's got a lot of breaking in to do left, but it's quite comfortable and very enjoyable to use. It's not yet something to be compared with a badger brush. Most nice soft badger brushes, but it's enjoyable to me. All right, the little quick half rinse there giving me an opportunity to feel my stubble. I've got enough lather here to soap up for another 3 or 4 passes. Historically, this pass here has been the last one. See how it goes. I'll do a little bit of kind of upsweeping here, a bit of an oblique angle, a slant. Help with efficiency. That Harvard study I was talking about, or MIT, I'm sorry if I said Harvard, forgive me, MIT. One of the reasons behind this study was, as I read this article about this study, was that their goal was to try to help the blades. Can we make blades better so they don't get dull so quickly? Obviously, they're seeing people use these cartridge razors and use them for 5 times or something and then throw them away, or 3 times, and I imagine the thought process was something like, hairs are so soft, blades are so sharp, why is this going on? What's happening? And so I think what they're walking away with after this study is looking at the materials of the blade edges, making sure they're homogeneous. I think they mentioned that. They said if the blade edge was kind of an inconsistent make of materials, then that promoted more chipping. Converse, if it was very homogeneous, then less chipping. And so I think they came away with some steps they could take on the manufacturing end of things to help blades go for longer. All right. Yep, feels good. Do I have any areas I can touch up? No, we're good. All right, get a good rinse now. So I think that was 4 passes, and we've still got 2, maybe 3 passes of lather remaining, and pretty much a perfect consistency of lather for this soap base regarding my own preferences. I don't think I'm going to come anywhere close to the bottom of this tub this month, but it is heading that way gradually. Maybe next year, the year after that, if I keep doing the Midnight Stag, I'll probably use it during the year as well. City Slicker is a splash that I had on hand. I didn't have too many splashes when I was traveling with me. I just had this one on hand. I like the scent a lot. I thought it might actually be a little appropriate, as I explained yesterday, the first time I used it, because it's a very polarizing, apparently, scent. And Rod had big issues with people getting on his case about it. I guess they would order it and then beef at him, you know? And he got to the point where he didn't even want to give it away. So I think he pitched it all. And so I think that that love-hate, I love it. I think it's terrific. And I think it does go with Midnight Stag a little bit. At least it doesn't conflict. There are some common notes. But that love-hate thing is definitely synonymous or a shared attribute with Midnight Stag. I left the Midnight Stag aftershave with my at my dad's house, and who knows? I told him I let him know what it was so that he wouldn't, think it was, another relative's or throw it away or something like that. And I told him, hey, you can try it out if you want. And he's a manly man, so he might appreciate the different scents, the different parts of that profile. Who knows? I may have a convert here. In the discussion threads for this month with the people, different people using boar brushes, and this guy continues to lose about a hair. But notice it's not a long hair. These bristles that I'm pulling out, they go mainly down. They don't go all the way to the bottom. It's like they're being cut off right here. And so my guess and my hope is it's just a loose hair from the factory or something like that. Hopefully we don't have anything like dried soap at the core of the knot here that's causing the hairs to degrade or break. So I was going to tell you something we were talking about. Oh, with the boar brushes and most animal hair brushes, if you can, a lot of people advise letting them dry for a day, or at least get close to completely dry before you use them again necessarily. And so with a boar brush, you can do it every other day, use it every other day. And so some guys are saying, well, boy, I'm using this boar brush for Austere August every day. Is that going to be a problem? And I don't think so. And a lot of other guys, they don't think it's going to be an issue. My main advice was to make sure you give it a good rinse. Get that soap out of there. And you can put it in front of a fan. You can just kind of work it on a towel a little bit to get rid of that excess moisture. If you're in a dry climate, of course, it's going to be dry by the next day. If you're in a humid climate, it may not be. But you're probably going to be just fine for this month. And then later on, after you're doing this kind of push for using a brush every day, using the same brush every day, then you can let it rest if you're in a humid climate, 1 or 2 days between using it again, and then you'll be back to a good cycle. But I think they're going to be just fine. Oh, that is a nice splash, that City Slicker. I'm glad I bought the soap as well. I am going to use the Midnight Stag spray cologne here. And the final water tally. 19 milliliters, as close as I can figure it. 19. We will take my Sharpie and put another dot on the index card. Another perk I didn't really see coming. I am renting a room here from a very nice guy, and there is another room, but I don't think it's going to be occupied in general, and so until there's maybe a guest visiting or something, and he said he would give me notice about that. I think I finally get the luxury, because there are also no kids here either. I finally get the luxury, I think, of leaving my gear here on the counter. I haven't been able to do that before. In the past, my counter was shared with my kids. My kids were young, and the counter was very small anyway. So it just wasn't going to happen. And so now I think this is going to feel like like I'm being lazy. It's going to be very nice just to have my stuff stay here. Now I will take my Nacet blade and keep it somewhere special just in case. He does have a dog, wonderful little lab, and just in case on some weird impulse dog reaches up and grabs the blade, I wouldn't want anything to happen. All right, looks like we're good. This is terrific. I feel like there's more to do, but there's not. Everything else can just kind of sit here. Very cool. And this is a place, as I mentioned, I think in a previous video, they, in addition to that weird thermostat situation based on the ground temperature under the house, I think under or nearby, it is also equipped, and this is a positive thing, with a filtration system for all water devices. And so the shower, the bath sink here, wonderful, drinkable, delicious water. And it didn't really seem to affect my lather very much. I think I got just as good of a lather as I usually do. But we'll be watching that in the future. And terrific. 455 is in the books, as my friend Buzz would say. Thank you so much for joining. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. I wish you guys all the best for August. And I'm going to get some work done. And this is the challenge here where I was using Midnight Stag. Kind of had to break that a little bit. But we're continuing with at least the soap and the cologne. We're continuing back now after a 2-day break with the Nacet blade. Timeless has been with us the whole time. And it does, I'm happy to say, turn out to be a good choice for this month. It's working well, comfortable, no irritation, no tugging, anything like that. Can I make it to 500 on this one side? Sure looks like it, but I don't know. We'll just take it each day at a time. All right, guys. Yeah, after the month here is done, and I'm done with using the same razor all month, I will probably switch and look at different other razors as I move up toward that 500 mark. Find the one that's the most comfortable, the most efficient, and see what we find there. Play around with different razors with it. All right, guys. Take care now.